First News with Keeler in the morning on WIBX and WIBX950.com.
All right, coming up, we're speaking with Farmer Ben Simons. And I don't know, are we calling him? Because he's not on the line.
He should be calling us.
So I just want to tell you that I believe Schumer was in town. So the question is, was Chuck Schumer in town? And I believe he was in town.
Yeah, he was in town Friday, I believe.
On Friday, but in Little Falls. Is this Ben?
It is. How are you?
Good. Stand by. We're coming right with you. Hold on. I'll put you right through. Good morning, Ben. Good morning.
Good morning, Bill. How are you on this snowy previous to Christmas?
I don't know that we're going to have a white Christmas.
It's going to be wet.
Well, the old farmer's wise tale was, if you have a white Thanksgiving, you're going to have a green Christmas. That's the old farmer's wise tale.
Okay.
That was indeed the case here.
Well, I will say we're going to be getting some warmer weather this week, and we'll, at least in the valleys, we'll see some real melting going on.
We up here on Star Hill here, we've got anywhere between 24 and 30 inches of snow on the level right out in my hay fields here.
Wow. You guys have been hit hard. Yeah. Yeah, well, there's a pretty good chance.
Lakes have been good to me. Pretty good
chance you'll have a white Christmas at your place. I would say that's a lot of snow to melt. Okay, Chuck Schumer in town? ? I believe he was at the very least in Little Falls. What do you know?
Yep, he's making his rounds. He ended up coming to Little Falls and doing his announcement about trying to refund the farm bill. And what it really is all about is that we really have not passed a new farm bill since 2018. They've just been running basically what I call a continuing resolution or a contingency.
Yeah.
They just keep refunding it and just keep it going, no changes to it. And what his main emphasis was on this trip that he was at Herkimer County here just last week was, and he was talking about the cliff for the dairy industry. What's going on is there is an insurance program that if the price of milk gets low and the price of hay, alfalfa, corn, and soybeans, all the ingredients that it takes to make milk feed the cows, if the margin gets too close where there's not much of a margin, the farmers can buy into an insurance policy, and then the insurance kicks in when there's a difference between the two so that the farmer can, I'm not saying stay profitable, but it helps alleviate the massive highs and the massive lows on the price of milk and the profitability of the farmer.
Yeah.
And by not doing a continuous resolution, all that's going to go away, or it would be suspended, or they'd go on furlough. And what's really happening is the whole USDA, because they didn't pass the farm bill, would basically get shut down because there's no funding. That's really what it's all about. He was just picking one part of it, if that makes sense of it.
Okay.
Makes sense to you.
I believe it does.
They've got to come up with some money.
The reality is we always want all of our prices to be low. And interestingly, we saw it when gas prices were down below $2, down below $1.50. And actually, if you remember, at one point went down below $1, which is when Trump was in office. And that really was, while it was great for us, it was not good for the refineries. It was not good, the oil industry in the United States, because they were not making any money. The same thing holds true here, and we forget about it. We always want our milk prices to be low. You want to pay less for eggs. You want to pay less for everything. The reality is we got to kind of find that perfect equilibrium that in the middle price so that it's not breaking the bank for us and the farmers are making money.
Exactly. I mean, just drive around Oneida County or Herkimer County and look at all the farms that when you were a kid there, Bill, that had dairy cows on them. Now you drive around, they're very few and far between.
Yeah.
And the farms that are left, the only way they're surviving is they have to get bigger. The margin per cow is so thin, so small, that the only way you're really going to survive for the next generation is what we call in the farm industry, or I call it in the farm industry, is the Walmart syndrome. Mm-hmm. You've got to get bigger and milk many, many more cows. And that's where it's at. Less than 2% of your population produces all the food in the country.
That.
When I moved here in 1984 from New Hampshire, there was over 400 dairy farms in Oneida County in 1984. Today, there's roughly about 138, 139 dairy farms left in Oneida County producing commercial amount of milk. But the number of cows from 1984 was roughly 20,000 cows.
Wow.
And here we are today in 2024. There's still roughly 20,000 cows in Oneida County, but they're on 138 farms. So the farms have gotten bigger.
The farms have gotten bigger, and we've seen a few of those on some tours. They're enormous farms, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And believe me, they're not getting rich, even though you see these large farms with big, large machinery. But at the end of the day, the profit margin per cow is so thin.
Yeah.
And the other thing that we're not talking about is the regulations that are on these farms now. They are highly, highly regulated on where they can spread their manure. You and I have talked about that. Mm-hmm. And how they handle their cows. And now the animal rights activists, and I don't mean to upset anybody, but they've got into it now where they're telling us farmers how we can care for our animals, and they have inspectors now that come around to the farms and actually inspect how you take care of your livestock. Are you feeding them properly? Are you handling your baby calves properly? And it's like, if we didn't take care of our animals on our own, they wouldn't produce good product for us. So regulations on top of regulations, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Let's see. Rudy in Lowville says that Schumer was up there at the Kraft facility as well.
That is correct.
Yeah.
After he got done in Herkimer, he went right up Route 12, right to Kraft. And I'm not exactly sure what he did for Kraft, but I do know they're expanding. They took out their string cheese manufacturing in Lowville and moved that off-site. And they're putting in another line of their Philadelphia cream cheese type business up there. And because everybody was worried, they're getting out of the string cheese business, that they were not going to buy the amount of milk they've been buying, and those farmers in the North Country were all going to be upset. But the reality is they're going to replace that part of the building with more cream cheese type manufacturing.
Right. Which is big. The other thing I thought was interesting, speaking of cheese and speaking of Kraft, is the American cheese, those cheese slices that you get.
Yeah.
That cannot, by government regulation, that cannot be called cheese. There's not enough cheese in it to make it real cheese.
I'm not real fluent on that. I'd like to research it.
Yeah, look it up.
I have heard the same thing what you're telling is that, and my advice to people is we all like yellow-looking cheese. We all do. But at the end of the day, what color is the milk that makes your cheese?
Yeah. If it's yellow, I wouldn't drink it.
I look at it as orange.
There has to be some food coloring.
Yes.
There has to be something in it.
Yeah. And I wonder about so you have see if you can look into this, because they're saying American cheese. So you can get the block of American cheese or the slices at your deli, which are different than the cheese slices you're going to get packaged that you'd get from maybe Kraft or some of the other companies. Is the stuff that you get from your deli, is that American cheese considered real cheese? I'd be interested to know. Maybe you can look into this and let us know.
I definitely will research that for you, because that is a very good question. And the other thing that we ought to just take a moment and touch base with, it's all over the news, is the bird flu that's getting into the milk business.
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are, is where Farm Bureau's thoughts are, is that we got to be conscious of it, be aware that it's out there. But at the end of the day, and I know this is going to step on the toes of some farmers, but it has been proven, USDA has put out many reports, that pasteurized milk kills off the bird flu in the milk. It really does. And then people are kind of concerned about probiotics and things like that are in non-pasteurized milk because they want the wholesome goodness of it. Then just spread your diet out a little bit and eat some yogurt and eat some different cheeses. And then that will make up for what the pasteurization takes away from milk. There's no question that pasteurization really does work, because that's why Mr. Pasteur, that invented the process of pasteurizing milk, came up with it. And pasteurized milk, I am a dairy farmer that is semi-retired now. I'm still into marketing of milk, but not into producing it anymore. But pasteurized milk, for your listeners out there, the general public, is the best way to go. With whole milk, the 3.2% fat milk, and pasteurized milk is still the safest out there. I'm not trying to go against one versus the other.
This is one of the RFK's big things, talking about having the actual milk not pasteurized. And there's a big kick on it right now. You're seeing it, and then, you see the same thing in cider, right? I like the cider that's not pasteurized. There is a different taste. I'm not sure. I mean, and milk, I guess, that is not pasteurized has a different taste as well. But it's been pasteurized for a reason, and I wonder if we're gonna get down the road where all of a sudden pasteurization is on the bad list. It feels like that's where we're going right now.
Well, I have mixed feelings. I grew up living on raw milk right off the farm, right out of the cow, right here in the tank, and coming to my family. My wife on her family farm in New Hampshire, same thing. But for the general public at this point in time, with the knowledge that we have, I still strongly recommend that you buy whole milk, and
that it's pasteurized.
It is pasteurized. And I just want to quickly say to that people talk about 1% or skim milk or 2% because of the fat content, and people, are worried about obesity. But the reality is, turn those numbers around. Whole milk is 3.2%. For easy figuring, it's 3% fat.
Yep.
It's 97% fat-free. Whole milk is 97% fat-free. 2% milk is 98% fat-free. And then 1%, of course, is 99% fat-free. Well, when you go to the grocery store and you buy your beef, and they tell you it's 85% fat, that means it's 15% fat.
Right.
85%.
It is interesting how we label stuff. We're labeling it we're labeling it for marketing purposes more than anything else. That's very interesting. And by the way,
I don't know why they turned that around. I don't understand that.
When you get a good piece of steak, you want it to have a little more fat because the flavor is better.
Absolutely.
We don't look at milk the same way.
Fat.
Yeah. All right. We appreciate it as always, Ben, and get back to us on that American cheese thing. I think that would be interesting.
I will. I'll research that today, and I'll get back to you in the next couple of days so everyone can enjoy dairy products for the holidays.
All right. I love it. We'll still be enjoying it no matter what. But okay. Thank you, Ben.
You're welcome.
Have a great day. We'll talk soon.
Bye-bye.
All right, Ben Simons. Call him what you want. Some people call him Farmer Ben. Farmer Ben. That is very that American cheese thing. I mean, to me, American cheese on a cheeseburger is just the way to go.